Thank you.
Gonna let the people in.
How many people in the lobby?
I let them in.
Okay. Well, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the McClave Drive Water Main Replacement Project. It's now 6:33. In respect of everyone's time, I'd like to get started and get the presentation underway. So let me start by introducing myself, and I'd like to welcome everyone. It's a privilege to be able to come before you today to discuss the McClave Drive Water Main Replacement Project. My name is David Hayes. I serve as the Director of Watershed Management. As a licensed water professional, I've served DeKalb County for more than 26 years, and I've taken on many roles within the Watershed team. Can we go to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. This evening, we have a team of experts here to share information regarding the McClave Drive Water Main Replacement Project and to answer questions you may have. We will talk about DeKalb's water infrastructure's problems that you may be experiencing. We will talk about the plan to correct these issues. And finally, we'll discuss our communication strategy. I'd like to, before we get started, give you a little background history of the Watershed management team and the project itself, what we do in Watershed, and acknowledge the commissioners in this district. Next slide, please. I don't believe that we have the pleasure of having any commissioners this evening, but this district, District 1, Commissioner Robert Patrick is your district, and then as Super District, Commissioner Cochran Johnson serves over the Super District. They have endorsed this project, and they both sit on the Public Works Infrastructure, so they are well aware of what's going on. Next slide, please. I'll give you a little overview of what Watershed does, a little background history, and what we do here. Next slide, please. So Watershed, it's a very complex organization. We provide water to more than 700 DeKalb County residents and constituents. To do that, we are allowed to take in as much as 128 million gallons of drinking water per day from the Chattahoochee River. We currently average about 7 million gallons of drinking water per day that we send out to the homes and businesses throughout DeKalb County. Once you guys use that water, we're able to bring back and receive and treat up to 56 million gallons of sewer from the homes and businesses. All this water and sewer is conveyed throughout DeKalb County using DeKalb County's more than 5,000 miles of water pipe and sewer pipe that's underground and throughout DeKalb County. With extended pipe in to pipe in, this is enough pipe to extend from Georgia to California and back. It's a large amount of pipe that we have to maintain. Next slide, please. So why is the county replacing the water line? Some of the water lines are more than 60 years of age and have by far outlived their design service life. By replacing these lines, we will be reducing water main breaks and improving service, which will yield a better DeKalb for our future. And to accomplish this, next slide, please. To accomplish this, we have dedicated a full team for this project to include every needed resource from Watershed and all other DeKalb County departments, as well as several industry-leading engineering firms and construction firms who will be led by Watershed's engineering department. This will allow a timely, safe, and successful project. Managing this initiative, and the next person that you will hear from is our program manager, Ms. Cassandra Marshall. Ms. Marshall.
Thank you, Director Hayes. Good evening. My name is Cassandra Marshall. I'm the Program Administrator for Watershed Management. I am responsible for managing the construction projects and the DWM construction management staff. In these next few slides, I will provide an overview of the system problems and our solution to repairing the aging water system. Next slide. So the county has over 3,000 miles of pipe in the water system to maintain and provide drinking water to the ratepayers. We also have 4 pressure zones, 21 storage water facilities, which are in the cyan colors, 16 pump stations, which are in the blue colors, and 6 pressure regulating stations. As you can see, this is a large system to maintain. Most of the system is aged and cannot be repaired all at one time. Therefore, the county had to develop a best practice way to evaluate and prioritize how and when the piping will be replaced. The first objective was to model the system. In 2019, the county developed its first hydraulic model. A hydraulic model is a computer simulation of the water system. The model can provide a big picture look at how the system should be functioning. For example, it provides details such as system pressures, available water at fire hydrants, and how the tank levels affects the system. To develop the model, we use the county GIS data, meter data of water usage from the billing system, system facility data such as water storage facilities and regulating station. This data was ultimately used to develop the county master plan and used to prioritize projects. Next slide. So to this point of the presentation, you've heard about the problem and the development of a replacement plan. I will now speak about the solution and the execution of the CIP project. So what does CIP stand for? CIP, or a capital improvement project, is a project that helps maintain or improve an asset. It can either be new construction, an expansion, renovation, or replacement of an existing infrastructure. Last year, the Board of Commissioners approved a new CIP program for $2.4 billion for projects to be completed from 2021 to 2030. The McClave water main project is a $6.1 million project that is included within that plan. My team, the CIP team, is responsible for getting that work done. My team includes 4 DWM construction managers and 12 licensed inspectors. Later in the presentation, you will also hear from the DWM construction manager for this project, Mr. Edgardo Amesquita, who has over 20 plus years of construction experience and is a licensed water professional. Along with in-house staff, we are also supported by consulting firms who help assist the county with construction management and inspection services. And what we want you to know is we're here to help. We want to reduce or eliminate emergency repairs. We want to stop the breaks. We want to protect the environment. And finally, after this project is complete, it will improve sustainability to the system. These improvements should last a minimum of 70 plus years. You will now hear from Mr. Edgardo Amasquita about the project scope and overview.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Edgardo Amasquita. I am the construction project manager assigned to this project. And what my team does is we work closely with the contractor in order to facilitate and quickly and efficiently get this project done. Our scope of work includes mobilization and equipment and materials. Now, some of the equipment that you will see will be backhoes, dump trucks, metal plates on the street. Some of the materials that you will see that will be delivered throughout the project, concrete, gravel, and towards the end of the project, you'll see asphalt being delivered and installed. We also established traffic control. The traffic control will be with sign postings. Also, you'll see direct traffic directing personnel. And what I like to say is please adhere to that direction while they're out there, because they're out there for your safety as well as the construction workers. We also install the new water main, and then we establish new water services. Now, the water services come in two phases. The first phase comes early on in the project, and what we do is install the actual copper piping that is utilized for the service. But then later on, phase two is when we actually connect that copper pipe to the households. That doesn't happen until the end of the project. Then we decommission the old main and the old services, and then we go into final restoration, where at that point grassing gets done the way it should be. Anything that got done through the project gets restored to the way it was when we got there to begin with. Now, the roads affected on this project will be McClave Drive, Raymond Drive, Haviland Lane, Autumn Drive, Addison Drive, Wheeler Drive, Brook Parkway, and Fair Lane. And what will happen is a second notification will go out, so that by the way of posting, so you'll know that the construction is coming to your actual street. The first notification took care of the overall project, but the second notification you will see is when the construction worker, the contractor, is actually going to be on your street, and there'll be some postings to let you know when that's going to happen. Next slide, please. Now, the method of this project will be open cut, consisting of cutting the asphalt, digging the trench, installing the new water line. And then after the testing and all things goes well, backfilling the trench and replacing the asphalt. Next slide, please. Now, these are some of the notices that went out. Construction will start August 3rd, which is tomorrow. You should probably have seen some piping being delivered on site. That is just the beginning of the project. We will be going full blown probably next week. So get ready, because it's coming. And then we'll go into final restorations around August 19, 2023. And then that will include punch list and testing and make sure everything is in order. And then we go into finalizing the project, and we will try to end it around September 9th, 2023. But that date is tentative. It'll probably come a lot sooner than that. But we like to give ourselves enough time. Next slide, please. And what my team is responsible for is that we are there to ensure erosion control and settlement are in place. We want to make sure that proper installation of the new water line is done. We are there to communicate with the residents, notifications, in case anything happens in the field. We're always there. You will always see an inspector there. Always try to find the inspector. That way the information comes straight through our team. Sometimes when you talk too much to the construction worker, they may or may not know who to talk to. So always look for the superintendent and the inspector, which is what I prefer, the DWM inspector. Then we ensure traffic control is maintained on a daily basis. Some of the deliveries, we try to organize those and schedule those in a time where it's less disruptive to the residents, but you know that comes with how those deliveries get done. And then the most important thing for us is ensure safety and measures are followed daily. So that's what the inspector is there to do. If something goes awry, we will shut down the project. We need to make sure safety is of the utmost and priority. Next slide, please. And on the left it's a typical picture of what you will see and expect during construction. And then on the right is what we hope the project will be done, paving nice and clean, and we'll be out of there with no issues. So now I would like to turn it back over to Cassandra Marshall.
So at this time, I will now address the community concerns and what the community should be aware of. Next slide. So what to expect? Well, what come with construction is inconveniences in which we want to try to minimize. What you're going to see is a lot of construction traffic, foot end vehicles, large dump trucks, and heavy equipment. There will be a lot of construction workers, county employees, and contracted workers throughout your community. There will be material and equipment deliveries by means of large tractor trailers. The crews and the flaggers will guide these large vehicles in and out of the community. What also come with working in the area is the parking issue. There will be vehicles parked alongside the streets and alongside the work zones. Work zones will be delineated by means of orange cones or barrels. In addition, as a security measure, all county contractors and county employees will have an identification badge and marked vehicles. There will be increased noise from the equipment backup alarms, heavy equipment usage, and saw cutting of the asphalt. Our typical work hours are normally from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and sometimes weekends. However, when working in residential areas, we work from 8 to 5. Residents will always have access to their driveway during construction, and notifications will be distributed prior to any water disruption. One last item you may see is the silt or the dirt on the street. The contractor will be responsible for keeping the streets clean and swept daily. Next slide. So this sign is just a typical sign that we put out before we start construction. The one on the bottom left is an example of a sign we require our contractors to install prior to starting work on your street at least 72 hours prior to that construction. On the bottom right is an example of a generic county contractor sign that is placed on unmarked county company vehicles. Other vehicles will have company logos. However, all vehicles will be marked in some type of fashion to let you know they are a county contractor or a county worker. You will now hear from Mr. John James about public communications. Johnny, you're on mute.
Yes, thank you, Administrator Marshall. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, rather. My name is John James. I'm the Outreach Communications Manager responsible, along with my team, for outreach and engagement for the Capital Improvement Program. Tonight, I will share with you the methods DWM will utilize to communicate with you about the project. But before I do that, I want to briefly recap what has already occurred so far in your community. Our outreach team has engaged with the residents and the schools that are affected by the work. Next slide, please. Leading up to tonight's meeting, you should have received a notification letter describing the details of the project and informing you of tonight's meeting. Going forward, as the project moves through your community, like 48 to 72 hours before the beginning of the construction in your area, each homeowner will receive a door hanger like the one shown here, which will tell you the hours of work and what to expect during construction. We'll also use the Gov Delivery e-blast notification service to communicate with you. And if you have not done so already, please take a moment to provide your email address in the chat so that we can keep you informed through the life of the project. Next slide, please. So these are the touch points we will use to communicate. First, we have the project hotline, which includes a 1-800 phone number and email address. We'll also have a dedicated web page for the project, which has tonight's presentation posted there, as well as other project information. We will use our Twitter and Facebook social media platforms to share updates on the project. We'll also use news releases and the county's weekly newsletter entitled The Relay to share information as needed. Now, other ways we'll connect with you include DCTV, which is DeKalb County Television, the Nextdoor platform, project signs, which are being posted in the areas where the work is taking place, our contractors, and the FAQs that we'll be developing and posting to the website. Next, please. Listed here, you'll find key contact information for the project. Most important is our dedicated project hotline and email address. Also listed here are the contact names of the engineering and construction teams for the project. And finally, we have listed our 24-hour dispatch number if an emergency arises outside of normal business hours. Next slide, please. And with that, this concludes our presentation. We want to thank you for your time this evening, and we will now move into the question and answer period of the presentation. And I think
I see the mayor has a question. Can we unmute and allow him to speak, please?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So Mayor Joseph Geierman, thank you all for doing this presentation. I guess I do have a few questions. I saw the map that was shown in the construction scope part of your presentation. Actually showed double the affected streets and areas compared to what was in the original email communication that you all sent. So is there anyone who can speak to, you know, the phasing, and is this phase one and there's a phase two? Or I'm wondering why half the neighborhood was left off of the original communication that went out, since this affects the entire neighborhood.
So I can speak to that. The reason for that, we initially had planned for 2 contractors to be working in the area. That didn't work out, and we're currently working on a change order to add that additional scope to this contractor scope. So it shows the full area. The plan is to do the full neighborhood once that funding is approved, which should get approved in the next month or 2.
Okay, so right now there's just the plan for the piece that you all sent out. You're gonna hopefully work with the same contractor.
Correct.
And will there be a further community meeting when that contract gets rolled out with the same kind of notice going out to everybody?
I can speak to that. There will be additional communication and engagement. We'll do an assessment of where we are and where we're going next. And if we determine that we need to have another meeting or to bring other people into a meeting, we certainly would do another meeting, but there will be ongoing communication.
All right. I think that the one of the other things that I would just ask, actually 2 things. I'm glad that this meeting is being recorded. How can we share this video so that people who weren't able to attend this evening can see it?
A couple of ways. It's going to be posted on the DWM website, but we're also prepared to send it directly out. If anybody would enter their email in the chat, we'll make sure that you get that link so that you don't have to look for it on the DWM website, but it's going to be very prominent on the CIP page.
I think the other request that I would have, and I guess this is specifically to you, sir, Mr. James, is if the Department of Water Management could connect with the city's communications team, just so that the city can also reinforce whatever communications the DeKalb Water team is sending out, and make sure, you know, maybe we can approach it so that, you know, even if they don't get the specific communication that you have, we're still able to get another item out there. So I will put my email in the chat. And if you could maybe reach out to me, I'd like to put you in touch with our communications person.
Absolutely. We continue to build our relationships between all of the municipalities within the county. And thank you for that offer. We definitely want to take you up on that if we could better help get the message out. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I see now that we have a question from Mr. Yeoman, Andy Yeoman.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Just a quick question. On one of the earlier slides tonight, it talked about kind of the phasing in terms of putting in the pipe and then, paving would come in later. Can you kind of explain what the residents will experience for the next year? I mean, this is a year project. So do they do the work and fill it full of gravel and just leave it for a long time and then do the paving at the end? Or is there metal plates everywhere? Or how does that normally, what's the experience like for the neighborhood?
Very good question.
Yes, I'll answer that. What happens with the construction is that we do try to phase it, but when things come and we have to move around crews to do different parts of the project, but the basic is that we go in and we cut our trench line to where we're going to install the pipe. And when that gets installed, once the pipe gets installed, we backfill that. We do it two ways. We'll either backfill it all the way with gravel, all the way flush to the street, so you can still drive on it. Or sometimes if budget, if budget lets us do it, we sometimes will temporarily asphalt it for a while if it's going to be there long term. But those are budgetary concerns that we have to take on as we go through the project. But for the most part, you will have the ability to drive through the project. The gravel does, like on rainy days, on like really heavy rainy days, that gravel does shift, but it is our contractor's responsibility to make sure they get there the very next day, smooth it back out, make sure no potholes are sitting long-term. So like that, there's no distraction when people drive through the project. And that's pretty much the experience that you will have. There's other things going on underground as far as what we're doing, but that really doesn't affect the residents. So the most you'll see is that trench, and we'll try to maintain that trench as best as possible, dealing with the weather, dealing with traffic and that sort of thing, to make sure that it's smooth as possible when people drive. And then as the project is phased, we try to do it piece by piece, but sometimes we run into things in the project that will delay certain streets over other streets. And our main concern is to make sure that we get the project done as quickly as possible so we don't disrupt long term. But anytime something comes up, you can always contact me, my inspector, and we're there daily to deal with whatever happens in the field.
Okay, and just lastly, I want to stress again, just the communication piece of this. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, you're not off to a great start. The city didn't know about this until you started delivering the pipe. We knew it was coming, but our county commissioner told us it would be next year before you got started. In fact, I'm texting him now. He wasn't even aware of this meeting. He's your commissioner, so I'm sure you'll probably be hearing from him. And then I know that some residents didn't get the door hanger and stuff like that. So I think we need to double down and I don't want to say slow down, but we need to make sure we get this right from a communication standpoint. That's it.
Your point is well taken, and the team will definitely work at communicating better. We want to make this as painless as possible for everyone. It's something that definitely needs to be done, but again, communication helps make this go so much more smoothly. So we will definitely look into the communication portion and make sure that, or ensure that everyone knows what's going on. We're going to try our best not to limit the inconvenience, and to stress what Mr. Skeetha just said, when we come on your particular street, we will lay pipe down. Before we leave, that hole will be filled that afternoon. We will do our best to mill and pave and make the streets whole as quickly as we can. But the team, it doesn't happen in one day. The team has to cut, install pipe one day, then they have to come back and replace your service line from that pipe to your residence. So that will be a second day. And before they do all that, they have to disinfect and make sure that that pipe is sanitized to be used. So all in all, the road will be interrupted in front of your house one day, and if things go well, we can have that road repaired to a point to where everyone can travel that road without having too much inconvenience within a week or so. Asphalting will come as quickly as we can get it. We do have concerns with asphalt supplies, but our mission is to make this as painless as possible for both the construction team and more importantly, the residents. We have now a comment or question from Rob Wilkie.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and answer Alan A's question in the chat, mine's slightly off topic, so I want to save it for the end of the meeting, if that's okay.
Okay, Mr. A. It appears that the horseshoe eastern edge of McClave and Drury Court is not getting the water pipe replaced. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that area downstream water flow?
Don't understand the question.
Where is that area according to the construction? I guess is what he's trying to ask.
Go
Well,
back to
the thing is that it's part of it's a dead end off of all the rest of the stuff off of McClave. But someone else in the chat wrote that the pipe was replaced in '94, so maybe
yes,
that's not in scope.
that's correct.
Okay.
It appears
Well,
that
if that answers, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
he has other questions. It appears equipment piping specifically is being staged on Drury Court. Is there a reason for staging it there? And it appears way away from the construction.
That was a place that was a place the city said that the county could store it because the city owns that land, and it was fairly easy for them to get in and out of. So that was what the city manager told us.
Okay. And then there was a final question about the communication. Again, we will do our best to communicate more and to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on in advance of us coming to your particular street or road. Mr. Wilkie, are you ready for your question?
Yeah, and first of all, thank you guys for organizing all this and for having this presentation. It's really helpful. And I know it's a lot of work to coordinate all this stuff, so I appreciate that. My question is slightly off topic, and I understand that this is not the place for answering it, but I did want to go ahead and raise it as a question. Several months ago, I contacted someone in the sewer department, which I believe you guys are all within the same department there, about there's a gap in the sewer lines on McClave Drive towards the Buford Highway entrance. It's basically east of Raymond Drive and before Colquitt Drive. There's 5 or 6 homes on the south side of the street there that don't have access to sewer. There was never a connection laid that was accessible for those homes. So they're all
replaced in '94.
Yeah, so the connection there is not available for those homes, and I contacted someone there about the possibility of a improvement project addressing that. So I know this is, sewer is different than water. I recognize that. I just wanted to raise this as a possibility if it could be looked into. If while these roads are being excavated for this work, if it might be possible to coordinate a sewer line extension across that section, to make it accessible for these homes that I believe it's the largest cluster of homes left in this area that doesn't have access to sewer.
So Mr. Luki, if you would leave your email address in the chat, I would ask that Mr. James get that email and get it to the person who can address your question or your concern.
Excellent. That's much appreciated. Have a good one.
All right. I'm looking, are there any other questions in the chat? I don't see that are. Any other questions? So that everything being said, again, we definitely want to partner with the community and work hand in hand. We want to make sure that this project goes as flawlessly as possible. Everything is weather predicated. We cannot work in extreme weather or rain, so that may delay us. We do have issues with pipe supply chains and things like that. We hope that that will not impact this project, but there is the possibility. And if there is, we will communicate that, but we do plan on getting in and getting out as quickly as possible. This is not the first project within DeKalb County in recent times that we've done this. We have several other projects that are going on simultaneously, and I can assure you that they are going extremely well. We have very few issues or concerns. So the team is well rehearsed, and it should be a great experience. And the best thing, the most important thing is at the end of this project, you will have brand new water lines, which should help with a great deal of issues that you may have been experiencing. I don't know if it will increase water pressure, but you definitely will not have decreased water pressure, and it will be more reliable for everyone. So I thank everyone for your time. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the concerns and the comments that were given. That makes us better, and we definitely welcome those things. And rest assured that we take it seriously, and we will do our best to do better. Thank you for your time again, and I wish everyone a great evening.